Hi, welcome to Storytime Tuesdays with Miss April. I've got a wonderful book here for us today and a new friend. Here's Oreo. She's going to listen to the story today. Our story is about a duck named Jemima. Are you ready? Here we go. The Tale of Jemima Puddle Duck by Beatrix Potter. What a funny sight it is to see a brood of ducklings with a hen. Listen to the story of Jemima Puddle Duck, who was annoyed because her farmer's wife would not let her hatch her own eggs. Now, her sister-in-law, Mrs. Rebecca Puddle Duck, she was perfectly willing to leave the hatching to someone else. I have not the patience to sit on a nest for 28 days. And you, no more have you, Jemima. You would let them go cold. You know you would. I wish to hatch my own eggs. I will hatch them all by myself. Quack, quacked Jemima Puddle Duck. And so she tried to hide her eggs, but they were always found and carried off. Jemima Puddle Duck became quite desperate. She was determined to make a nest right away from the farm. She set off on a fine spring afternoon. She went along the cart road that leads over the hill. She was wearing a shawl and a poke bonnet. And when she reached the top of the hill, she saw a wood in the distance. She thought it looked like a safe, quiet spot. So Jemima Puddle Duck, who was not much in the habit of flying, well, she ran down the hill a few yards, flapping her shawl, and then she jumped into the air. Now, she flew beautifully when she had a good start. She skimmed along over the treetops until she saw an open place in the middle of the woods where the trees and the brushwood had been cleared. Jemima alighted rather heavily and began to waddle about in search of a convenient and dry nesting place. She rather fancied a tree stump amongst the tall foxgloves, but seated upon the stump, she was startled to find an elegantly dressed gentleman reading his newspaper. He had black prick ears and sandy-colored whiskers. Quack, said Jemima Puddle Duck, with her head in her bonnet on one side. Quack? Now the gentleman raised his eyes above the newspaper and he looked curiously at Jemima. Madame, have you lost your way? He had a long, bushy tail, which he was sitting upon, as the stump was somewhat damp. Jemima thought him mighty civil and handsome. She explained that she had not lost her way, but that she was trying to find a convenient, dry nesting place. Ah, is that so? Indeed, said the gentleman with the sandy whiskers, looking curiously at Jemima. He folded up his newspaper, put it in his coat tail pocket. Jemima complained of the superfluous hen. Indeed, how interesting. I wish I could meet that fowl. I would teach it to mind its own business. Oh, look at the little house. But as to a nest, there is no difficulty. I have a sack full of feathers in my woodshed. No, my dear madame, you will be in nobody's way. You may sit there as long as you like, said the bushy-tailed gentleman. Now, he led the way to a very retired, dismal-looking house amongst the foxgloves. It was built of faggots and turf, and there were two broken pails, one on top of the other, by way of a chimney. This is my summer residence. You would not find my winter house as convenient, said the hospitable gentleman. There was a tumble-down shed at the back of the house made of old soap boxes. The gentleman opened the door and showed Jemima in. Oh, she looks so cozy. Look at all the feathers. Now, the shed was almost quite full of feathers. It was almost suffocating, but it was comfortable and very soft. Jemima Puddle Duck was rather surprised to find such a vast quantity of feathers, but it was very, very comfortable, and she made a nest without any trouble at all. When she came out, the sandy-whiskered gentleman was sitting on the log reading the newspaper. At least, he had it spread out, but he was looking over the top of it. He was so polite that he seemed almost sorry to let Jemima go home for the night. He promised to take good care of her nest till she came back again the next day. He said he loved eggs and ducklings, but he should be proud to see a fine nestful in his woodshed. Now, Jemima's unsuspecting. She doesn't know what the bushy, long-haired, long-tailed gentleman really wants. We're going to find out. Jemima Puddle Duck came every afternoon. She laid 9 eggs in the nest. They were greeny white and very large. The foxy gentleman admired them immensely. He used to turn them over and over and count them when Jemima was not there. Madame, I beg you not to trouble yourself with a bag. Oh, pardon me. At last, Jemima told him that she intended to begin sit the next day. And I will bring a bag of corn with me so that I need never leave my nest until the eggs are hatched. They might catch cold, said the conscientious Jemima. Madame, I beg you not to trouble yourself with a bag. I will provide oats. But before you commence with your tedious sitting, I intend to give you a treat. Let us have a dinner party all to ourselves. Oh, may I ask you to bring up some herbs from the farm garden to make a savory omelet? Now, do you know what you make omelets out of? Eggs. Uh-oh. Sage and thyme and mint and 2 onions and some parsley. I will provide lard for the stuff. Lard for the omelet, said the hospitable gentleman with the sandy whiskers. Oh, Jemima, it's not good news. Okay, Jemima Puddle Duck was a simpleton. Not even the mention of sage and onions made her suspicious. She went round the farm garden, nibbling off little snippets of different sorts of herbs that are used for stuffing roast duck. And she waddled into the kitchen and got 2 onions out of the basket. The collie dog met her coming out. What are you doing with those onions? Where do you go every afternoon by yourself, Jemima Puddle Duck? Jemima was rather in awe of the collie, so she told him the whole story. The collie listened. With his wise head on one side, he grinned when she described the polite gentleman with the sandy whiskers. I think Kep the collie knows something's going on. He asked several questions about the wood and the exact position of the house and shed. Then he went out and he trotted down the village. He went to look for two foxhound puppies who were out at walk with the butcher. Jemima Puddle Duck went up the cart road for the last time. It was a sunny afternoon. She was rather burdened with bunches of herbs and two onions in a bag. She flew over the woods and she alighted opposite the house of the bushy, long-tailed gentleman. He was sitting on a log and he sniffed the air and kept glancing round the wood. When Jemima alighted, he quite jumped. Come into the house as soon as you have looked at your eggs. Give me the herbs for the omelet. Be sharp. It was rather abrupt, and Jemima Puddle Duck had never heard him speak like that. She felt surprised and uncomfortable. Oh, here comes Kep. While she was inside, she heard the pattering feet at the back of the shed. Someone with a black nose, that's right, nose, with a black nose, sniffed at the bottom of the door. Then locked it. Jemima became much alarmed. A moment afterward, there were the most awful noises. Barking, baying, growls, and howls. Ow! Squealing and groans. And nothing more was ever heard of that foxy, whiskered gentleman. Presently, Kep opened the door of the shed and let out Jemima Puddle Duck. Come on, Jemima. But look who went in. The two puppies went into the shed where her nest is. What's going to happen? Unfortunately, the puppies rushed in and gobbled up all of the 9 eggs. 9. Before he could stop them, he had a bite on his ear, and both of the puppies were limping. Jemima Puddle Duck was escorted home in tears on account of her eggs. Now, she laid some more in June, and then she was permitted to keep them herself, but only 4 of them hatched. Jemima Puddle Duck said that it was because of her nerves, but she had always been a bad sitter. The end. Thank you for coming to Miss April Storytime. We hope to see you again next week for another story. Goodbye.